Okay, guys, I got my bestie with me, Gene Rossi, hashtag 4041, 30 years at DOJ, trial lawyer per excellence. Gene, welcome to the show.
Oh, sorry I'm late.
Not a problem. Gene Rossi, okay, I was a little critical maybe of the prosecutor when the second couple minutes that he got up there in the beginning, but I got to take it back, and my chatters are enthralled with this prosecutor, Gene Rossi, and he did an amazing job talking to the jury about he's not like us, referring to the defendant. He's a liar. He's angry and frustrated over what? Over milk, because he had to be in control. That was the theme the prosecutor gave. He couldn't even give an answer to a question on cross-examination if my life depended on it. When he referenced the trash bag, the guy said, I can't really say it's a trash bag. It could be something you put tools in. So that was not a good look for the defendant, and the prosecutor brought that out. He calls him, quote, the worst of the worst. And he says she made it to the age of 3, referring to the victim, and she died looking into the eyes of her protector, into her father's eyes. Not a dad, a father in name only. I'm quoting. I actually wrote these quotes down. Prosecutor did an awesome job talking about her unrealized potential of Sharon. Who knows? Because he extinguished that potential, and we're all at a loss. The lives she could have touched, the illnesses she could have cured. Wow, that was a home run statement. And he then basically asked the jury to put yourselves into the place of the father, and you be her protector. You be the one to love and take care of her. Give a life sentence. Gene Rossi,
Wow.
He really knocked it out of the park. What are your thoughts?
Well, based on what you told me, he hit it out of the park like Mickey Mantle did many years ago. Sounds like a grand slam home run.
Yeah, Gene, you would have really liked him too, because it's like reading a transcript. I can repeat the words, but it was the manner in which he expressed them, his looks, his intonations, his turning towards the defendant at various times, the way his body gesticulated. He brought it all together in a very powerful package. And I don't know, I think that he may get a life sentence based on that closing. And certainly I can tell you the people in the chat room that I love watching, our second jury there, they loved him.
You know what the jury's going to be deliberating, although they're not supposed to, is the charge is an omission regarding the death of a child. They probably know that he dodged a bullet, and that this could be a death penalty case. So I think it's a highly likely that he's going to get life. Also, based on what I saw yesterday with the great Linda Kenny Bodden, no offense to you, of course, his testimony on direct, I didn't see the cross. His testimony on direct was he was making it up out of whole cloth. So yeah, that's probably why he's going to get life.
I think that was another good part of the theme of the prosecution in this case. And we talk about this all the time, Gene. When you take that stand, he didn't show any remorse. He did no tears. It was very difficult. I mean, I've been there crossing a defendant just like this, where they refuse to answer even the most basic question. And you could really look bad in front of that jury. The defense, Gene, tried to make the argument you just alluded to, where they were like, wait a second, this is not a murder case. No one is saying he did not plead guilty to having anything to do with the mechanism of her death, but rather the omission or the failure to actually seek medical care. So put this in perspective, jury. And I was a little surprised. I'll get your thought on this, Gene. The judge allowed the prosecution to essentially say he caused the death.
Oh, they can do that based on the evidence, just because he pleaded to something a little different. And based on what he said yesterday, I didn't see the cross. I think this is a shaking baby syndrome case, where he got angry at Sharon when she was difficult drinking the milk,
right? And
he shook her so hard that he probably broke her neck.
Yeah, and Gene, that's pretty much where the prosecution's going, is that they lost control, that there were previous injuries and broken bones with the child. Again, prosecution wrapped it up really beautifully. Gene, we're going to be right back with you, and we're going to have more analysis on this fascinating case. It is now in the hands of the jury. We'll be back right after this break. Stick with us. Okay, well, we have breaking news in the Wesley Mathews case. The jury is out in deliberations on this case. prosecution slamming the defendant in the trial, basically calling him an outright liar. At one point in time said, I couldn't get an answer out of this guy if it was to save my own life. He did a really good job. Now, Anon2958, who's in our chat room, I was going to make whatever request they asked for. Should have asked for £1 of hundreds. I would have honored it, but you didn't. You actually said, Anon2958, you want to see some of the cross-examination or the examination of the defendant on the stand that the prosecution utilized to eviscerate him in the closing argument, and I am here to serve. So let's look at some of that cross-examination. Okay, Gene, now there were lots of interesting permutations to the cross-examination, and it's we crystallized that one clip. So he's sitting down in the chair, the prosecutor, having a dialogue with the guy, if you will, on cross. I thought it was very talented in the manner in which he was able to essentially testify. He got it out. I mean, the bottom line is he did it, and he said, I think you murdered her. I mean, and he's like, well, I disagree with you. But, you know, he got to get his opinion in there. I'm surprised there wasn't an objection to it, but it was artful. You got to give him that.
I got to give him credit. Let me tell you something. This is Texas. Putting aside the photos in front of the judge near the witness box, sitting down when you're doing the cross or direct, which is odd to me. If I ever made the comment, I believe you murdered Sharon, in EDVA federal court, I would have been held in contempt. You can't do that. Chat room, it sounds good for TV, maybe in a fiction. In a real courtroom, I'm sorry, you cannot say something like that where I used to roll and not have the judge just slam you.
Yeah, well, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I am saying that he slipped it in there, and look, it could be potentially reversible, but for the fact there was not an objection to it. So, you know, I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be reversible at the end of the day. And I don't disagree with you. You're not to inject your personal opinion about the evidence because it was not testified to, but he got it in, Gene, nevertheless.
He got it in. And you're right. If a defense attorney doesn't object, and they should have, if they don't object on appeal, it's a much higher hurdle for the defense to find or argue reversible error. So,
right, Gene. That's a very important legal distinction there because we always talk about appeals that the court will look at an objected to bad evidence getting in matter much differently than if it's not objected to because then the error standard changes. Good point, Gene. Let's listen to a little bit more cross-examination and see if we can come up with, it certainly was effective because everyone in this chat room that watched it from beginning to end thinks the defendant really harmed himself on cross. Let's take a look. All right, Gene, I will also grant you, I have never had ever crossed a defendant for a long period of time in a chair, but nevertheless, that's what's going on there. And what I do like about his style is he, irrespective of the answer he's getting, he's painting the picture by just asking the question and every now and again hitting a gratuitous comment like, yeah, I understand you don't remember, it was only yesterday. And then talking about calling the girl defective and felt like he was tricked by the Indian government, calling her only the girl multiple times, and him saying that now English is not his primary language. Thoughts?
Oh, this prosecutor was brilliant for at least 3 reasons. Doing the October 7th, October 23rd, and yesterday, you went from the girl to a little bit of the girl, then it's Sharon, Sharon, Sharon. That was brilliant. Number 2, when he brought up the text, any more defects, okay? The motive in this case was simple. He thought he was getting a Mercedes-Benz, and in his warped, perverted, disgusting mind, he didn't get a Mercedes. He got a child with challenges. That's horrible. And the third thing he got out of him is, and I've seen it many times, whenever a witness who says, well, English is not my second language, and they're talking very eloquently on the stand, that's baloney.
Gene, you know what? I can tell you with beyond all doubt, who is the Mercedes of people giving legal analysis at the Law and Crime Network? I'll answer the question for you. Bring a mirror up to your face. It's you, my friend, Gene Rossi. Excellent analysis. As always, the Mercedes of legal analysts at the Law and Crime Network. We're going to break. We'll be right back. Okay, Gene. So let me.
I mean,
He's. Let me just go. Let me just for our viewers, just so you know, when we play this back, we can get this straight. He's like, what do you call this thing? It's a trash bag, and he's like, I wouldn't call it a trash bag, a tool bag. Now. He just goes into silence mode, the prosecutor, which I think was very effective. He didn't go right at him at that point in time. The silence was powerful. And then he goes, well, then, other than what you used to dump your daughter, what else would you call it? And he says, a blue bag. Gene, I saw your picture on the monitor when he said that. You just started to crack up. I mean, that's really, really bad. And the prosecutor's very skilled. Other than using this to dump your daughter, what do you call this? A blue bag.
Here's the concern I have. I'm worried that after he gets life, and he's going to get life, I bet all money on life. After he gets this, he's going to turn around and say, I didn't really want to take the stand. The defense attorney persuaded me. Judge, ineffective assistance of counsel. Because if this is the way he acted during prep, my goodness gracious, he was so bad, Bob. He was so bad. And I'm kind of exaggerating, of course. I was almost starting to feel sorry for the guy because he's so bad.
Yeah, but you know, that ineffective assistance on that particular issue will never, in my opinion, prevail. It's a good point. I mean, it's an argument that will be raised because the court goes through a very lengthy colloquy with the defendant explaining their rights and everything, you know, else with respect to that. And the bottom line is, I mean, we've had these witnesses. I've had witnesses that have just imploded on cross-examination. And what I love about what the prosecutor does too, now again, he's getting away with a lot more than I certainly would in Jersey and maybe there, but where you are. But in Texas, we know, you know, there's a lot of latitude given the prosecutors there, but he's basically painting the picture. Then you went back to clean your clothes to start your cover-up. So what I like about the way he questions is he's telling the jury where he's going. He's not just asking a question. He's basically telling the jury his view of what was going on there. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, absolutely. In cross-examination, you are the witness. That's what I told my baby prosecutors. You don't care what that person says. You are the witness, and you're the witness by the way you ask the question. Mm-hmm. You ask narratives, and that question was priceless. Oh, other than putting your daughter inside that bag, did you use it for garbage? You know, right. That was priceless.
Yeah, you know, Gene, when we see it bad, we call it, but you know, it takes a certain skill set. Not every lawyer can get up there and roll with that kind of cross-examination and come up with those pithy lines. That prosecutor had no idea. I remember one time asking an expert witness whether or not this was a kitchen. I think you know the story. And the guy's like, I can't say that that's a kitchen. I'm like, well, what do you call that thing? And he's like, a refrigerator. And what do you call that? A stove. And what do you call that? A sink. And what do you call that? Within a reasonable degree of certainty, can we call that a kitchen? They want to argue with you about everything. And that's an expert witness. So the prosecutor was not prepared in this case for the guy to say that that's not a trash bag. She's very nimble at taking advantage of bad statements.
Oh, absolutely. His eye, when he couldn't answer the blue bag question, the prosecutor rolled his eyes, but it was sincere, it was genuine. In that, to me, was better than any other question. Just the prosecutor was rolling his eyes. But the other thing where the defendant dug his hole, and I said yesterday, if you're in a ditch 12 feet deep and you're only 6 feet, the first thing you got to do is stop digging and put the shovel down. This guy won't stop digging. And he said that he didn't clean his clothes. It had nothing to do with covering up the crime. That's not why he cleaned his clothes. Are you kidding me?
Well, you know, Gene, excellent commentary. So we're seeing a prosecutor who was very nimble on cross, but as importantly, took advantage of every drop of what he got out on cross-examination in his very powerful closing statement, the last thing the jury heard, and was unabashed by saying, I think it's disrespectful to the defense to tell you that I was disrespectful for asking for life. You be her caretaker. You be her protector, not like her father in name only. You take care of the job. You put him in jail for life. It was powerful. He took advantage of it all. We're going to do some business here at the Law and Crime Network. We're going to go to a break. The breaking news is the jury is in deliberations. The fate of the defendant is in their hands. Stay tuned.